Tonight on Reporting Scotland, Scottish Labour take Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse from the SNP in a closely fought by-election. The party's Davy Russell won with a majority of 602.
Davy Russell, Scottish Labour Party, 8,559.
Labour say their work on the ground helped them win. We'll have reaction from constituents.
I must be truthful, I voted Labour.
Did you struggle to make a choice?
Aye, I did.
Why was that?
Well, when I was in Errwood, there was nobody coming in my door. Nobody came to tell me what was doing this and who was doing that, what we were going to do. All we got to do was daft leaflets through.
Bus passengers around Ayrshire and Arran face 6 weeks of disruption as drivers strike in a pay dispute. Some old books have been found to contain traces of harmful arsenic. We hear from the team who've created a device to detect it.
And I'll be live from Hampden with tonight's sport, where Scotland are in friendly action against Iceland.
Hello, I'm Laura Goodwin. Welcome to Friday's programme. It was a closely fought by-election with weeks of campaigning and at times controversy. In the end, Davy Russell from Labour took the seat of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse from the SNP with a majority of 602. The seat was left vacant following the death of SNP MSP Christina McKelvey, who had represented the constituency since 2011. The results may have come as a surprise to some. Labour leader Anna Sarwar said his party had proven the pollsters wrong. Our political editor Glenn Campbell has the story.
A victory celebration for Labour after they narrowly won this seat from the SNP with less than a year to go to the full Holyrood election.
Only Scottish Labour can beat the SNP. Only Scottish Labour can deliver a new direction for Scotland, and only Scottish Labour can ultimately deliver the change this country needs, and we are determined to go and win it together. Thank you.
The new MSP kept a low profile in the campaign, concentrating instead on winning over voters in a community where he's a well-known character.
I hear you're a bit of a crooner.
I can sing, yeah.
Go on then.
No, no, I need music.
Favourite number?
Don't ask me a mountain of questions.
Is that an actual song?
It is, yeah.
How does it go?
Don't ask me a mountain of questions. That's your lot.
The SNP tended to ignore Labour in this campaign, arguing that it was a two-horse race between them and Reform UK.
We got into the running again after a disastrous election last summer where we lost by over 20 percentage points to the Labour Party. So the SNP got back in contention. We've made some progress based on the general election last year, but not nearly enough progress, and we've got to focus on that to make sure we can win in 2026.
Davy Russell, Scottish Labour Party, 8,559.
Labour were not the only winners overnight. Finishing third, Reform UK recorded their best ever parliamentary election result in Scotland.
I am very confident there will be Reform MSPs elected next year with a mandate of common sense change. I think what we're seeing now is that Reform is the clear alternative to the left-wing cosy consensus that exists in Holyrood.
The Conservatives were pushed into fourth place.
It was always going to be a very difficult night for the Conservative Party. We had a very tough election less than a year ago. We are rebuilding, we're in the middle of that process, and we look forward to next year with much more confidence.
Labour's taken heart from this win, but the rise of Reform adds unpredictability to the national campaign. Glenn Campbell, Reporting Scotland, Hamilton.
Davy Russell had been dubbed the Invisible Man by his political opponents after he decided against taking part in live broadcast interviews. In the end, though, it didn't seem to matter to voters. So what did? Our political correspondent Andrew Kerr has been finding out.
Larkhall, a pro-union bastion in the constituency, Reform UK no doubt doing well here. It's lunchtime at a local community centre. Not everyone is impressed by their strong showing.
It's not a party I would vote for at all. I don't like their political views at all. They did put their face out there quite a lot, so maybe that's why people voted for them.
But up the road in Hamilton, It's clear Reform mobilised their potential vote with some of their key messages.
I voted for Reform.
And why was that, do you think?
One of my genuine concerns at the moment is the lack of progress with dealing with illegal immigration. There's a lot of money being spent just now, I think, on a problem that could quite easily be handled.
Labour and the SNP fought this closely. Labour say their work on the ground helped them clinch it.
I must be truthful, I voted Labour.
Did you struggle to make a choice?
Aye, I did.
Why was that?
Well, when I stayed in Arrowwood, there was nobody coming in my door. Nobody came to tell me what was doing this and who was doing that, what we were going to do. All we got was these daft leaflets through.
Labour's candidate was criticised for not taking part in debates. That didn't matter.
I'd seen him up in Larkhaw and that, and about, you see, my lasses and that and all sort of thing, give him a chance.
We featured businessman Taha before the election.
You told us you weren't going to vote. We've got the result now. What did you do?
Andrew, I didn't vote. Okay. Nobody came up with the answers I was looking for. Nobody. I knew I wasn't going to vote for SNP. SNP are anti-business. So it was a toss-up between Labour and Conservatives.
Hamilton has seen some famous by-election upsets in the past. Now, this place is not a snapshot of the whole of Scotland, but perhaps the result does signal voters' hopes and frustrations ahead of the Scottish Parliament election next year.
For Labour, as they're saying today, if we can beat the SNP at a local level, why can't we beat them at a national level? For the SNP, after a few months of national polling telling them that they're, in a relatively decent position, this will be a bit of a wake-up call and an absolute disappointment. And for Reform, I think it will be absolute concrete sign that they can compete next year. And as for the Conservatives, their vote kind of fell off a cliff, really.
Now Mr Russell's off to Holyrood. There's new momentum driving Labour up. Andrew Kerr, reporting Scotland, Hamilton.
So let's take a closer look at the numbers. So, as we know, Labour came out on top with over 8,500 votes and a 31.6% share. But their vote is actually down since 2021, 2%. Wasn't a good night for the SNP. They had almost 8,000 votes and 29.4% of the share, but their vote was down almost 17%. Now, Reform UK took 26.1% of the share with just over 7,000 votes, and this was the first time they've stood in a Scottish Parliament constituency seat. And it was a bad night for the Conservatives. They took 6% of the share, and that was down 11.5% from 2021. Well, our political editor Glenn Campbell joins me now. Glenn, a lot of people are calling this a surprise result. What's your assessment?
Well, one of the Labour campaigners turned up at their celebration today with what he said was humble pie and offered it to pundits and pollsters who had felt that the most likely outcome in this by-election was that the SNP would hold. This wasn't Labour sweeping aside the SNP as they did across much of the central belt of Scotland at the UK general election last year. It was much closer than that between Labour, the SNP and Reform UK. In recent days, Labour said they had identified enough votes to beat the SNP, and I think a very effective ground campaign has ensured that those voters turned out and clinched it for Labour.
And what does this tell us about next year's election and the place of reform in Scottish politics?
Well, there's no direct read across between a local by-election and a national campaign. What almost every voter who was interviewed in this constituency made clear was a frustration with almost all the political parties, and certainly those in power at Holyrood and Westminster. Many voters didn't know how to express that in this contest. I think some did by just not taking part, by staying at home. Others clearly did by choosing to vote for Reform. And even if they did half as well in next year's Holyrood election across the whole country, then they could expect to return MSPs and gain a foothold in the Scottish Parliament. And I think that would significantly change political conversations on energy, on the environment, and on issues like immigration too.
OK, Glenn, many thanks indeed. At the beginning of this year, the UK's first ever drug consumption room opened in the East End of Glasgow. It's a pilot scheme that allows drug users to take illegal substances in a facility with trained medical staff on hand. But people living close to the centre have raised concerns about the number of discarded needles that are being left outside it. Now, the council have installed needle bins to try and address the problem. Katrina Renton reports.
It was completely covered with paraphernalia. There were syringes everywhere. It was just an absolute nightmare.
Linda Watson has lived in the Carlton area of Glasgow all her life. She took this video of a local GAP site almost 3 weeks ago. It was cleared up by the council yesterday and a new needle drop bin installed nearby.
There's a notice up there, as you can see, from the Thistle Centre that was there when this was all overgrown. So they were aware then that people were coming here to take drugs.
So you're glad that they've cleaned the area up. Do you think it will make any difference?
Who knows? People have got to have a decent place and a safe place to live in. You know, we've got children and grandchildren and all that here. Get part of this whole experiment.
Linda, along with other residents, went to a meeting last month to discuss the impact they say there's been on their streets since the consumption room opened in the area in January, overseeing around 2,500 injections.
Over recent weeks, local people here in Carlton have been organising against what they say is a rise in drug use and drug dealing in the local community, something they have linked to the new Thistle Centre. Now, the needle drop box has a poster on it to signpost users to the safety of the centre to try and discourage drug use in public.
Public injecting has been happening in and around this community for a number of years now, and we're trying to reduce the harm associated with discarded needles, etc. So this is just one of the interventions that we're looking to do to try and take that harm away from the community into a safe place.
Is there an influx of people? Is there more injecting in this area because of the Thistle Centre?
So we need to listen to the local residents' concerns, and I think that is really important. In terms of the data that we have, it's not shown that there has been an increase in reporting, but certainly we've been out doing clean-ups, etc. But we've been doing that before the Thistle opened, and we'll continue to do that after it's opened.
The council has already piloted a needle bin in the city centre, and others are to be installed at sites where public injecting takes place. Katrina Renton, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Some of the day's other stories now. And the body of a man has been discovered in Banknock. Police say at around 4:15 this afternoon, the body was discovered in a wooded area near Kilsyth Road in the Falkirk village. Formal identification has yet to take place. However, the family of 19-year-old Cole Cooper have been informed, and inquiries remain ongoing to establish the full circumstances. Up to £3 billion of public money may have to be spent assessing and removing potentially flammable cladding from buildings in Scotland over the next 15 years. New estimates from the Scottish Government suggest up to 1,450 residential buildings may need remediation work, including about 250 high-rises. That's an increase on the previous estimate of about 900 buildings. The closure of 4 nursery schools in Aberdeenshire is set to be paused after parents were not properly consulted. The mothballing of nurseries at Balogie, Crossroads, Glass and Sandhaven are due to go ahead at the end of this term. However, the council says it wants to review guidelines and intends to halt the closures at a meeting on Monday. The move comes after the Scottish Government wrote to the authority to highlight the need to consult parents in such cases. Bus passengers around Ayrshire and Arran are facing 6 weeks of disruption because of a strike by Stagecoach drivers. Today they staged the latest in a series of 24-hour stoppages in an increasingly bitter pay dispute. If it isn't resolved over the weekend, they'll walk out again on Monday and plan to stay out every day until the middle of July. Our news correspondent Jamie McIver reports.
A local dispute of growing national significance. A serious confrontation between a major union and a local branch of the transport giant Stagecoach. Today was the third one-day strike within a fortnight.
We are now 7 months into a dispute where the company has stubbornly refused to negotiate with us from day one. There has been a 4% offer on the table from day one. That hasn't changed in all that time. Quite incredible. You know, these are the lowest paid drivers across the whole of the Stagecoach group, across the whole of the UK.
Stagecoach believes its offer is fair and ensures the services remain viable. Nobody from the company was available for interview, but it said, "We once again urge Unite and our employees to reconsider their position and avoid further unnecessary disruption." Caught up in the dispute, the passengers who rely on buses. Some local services are running, others are cancelled. These friends arrived in Ayr from Glasgow on a bus which was running.
We're all right, we can get a train. If we need a train, we can get, but other people, as you say, there's people running about here that use the local buses, and if they're not getting their buses, they can't get out.
They're stuck in the house.
A wee bit of shame.
There's concern on both sides for passengers and their communities.
It's obviously I need to get a taxi now to Taylor Road for here, but I don't really know a taxi number because I don't come from here, so I come from Glasgow, but I'm going to my aunt's.
And it will be causing a knock-on effect with local businesses in Ayr. Obviously there's going to be less footfall, hence there's going to be less money coming in.
This is fast becoming one of the most significant private sector pay disputes in Scotland for a long time. As things stand, there's little prospect of any kind of resolution before Monday, and 6 weeks of strike action will begin. If there's going to be a resolution, one side will have to blink. Jamie McIver, reporting Scotland, Ayrshire.
Reading, they say, is good for the brain and the soul, but some old books from the 19th century have been found to contain traces of harmful arsenic. Although levels are tiny, prolonged exposure can cause low-level arsenic poisoning, which is problematic for museums and libraries that may have large collections. Now, librarians and scientists at St Andrews University have teamed up to create a device to help detect it. Here's our arts correspondent, Pauline McLean.
It may seem like a peaceful haven, but there's danger lurking on many bookshelves, thanks to the toxic pigment the Victorians used in textiles, wallpaper and bookbinding.
Many of the books are coloured with emerald green. So emerald green is a bright green pigment made by combining copper and arsenic. The arsenic, of course, is a toxic heavy metal. And this colour was very popular for most of the 19th century because of its vibrancy and its resistance to light fading.
But that 19th century fashion has created a 21st century problem for libraries and bookshops across the world. Even small amounts of arsenic can have ill effects, especially for those exposed to books for long periods of time. And some institutions have emptied their shelves rather than take a risk. But the team at St Andrews were keen to find a solution.
And the first most important thing is to find an instrument that could give us an answer, if it was a poisonous book or not, but also that was non-destructive, because these books are precious. So we cannot use anything that could, I don't know, make some damage on the books. And also that was portable, because we have so many books that it will be ideal to go through the shelves and just testing all of them.
So, Graham, show us how the gadget works.
Yeah, so this is our tool that we've built. What it's going to do is it's going to shine light onto the books, and we're going to measure the amount of light that's reflected back into the instrument.
Thanks to a collaboration between arts and science departments, the university has created this, an affordable, portable scanner which allows them to pinpoint toxic books in even the most vast collections.
You see we get this
so you get red
indicator here that tells us that these books do in fact have arsenic in the binding.
And allow book lovers to return to the joy of reading without fear of contamination. Pauline McLean, reporting Scotland, St Andrews.
Right, time now for All Tonight's sport, and Lewis is at Hampden for us tonight. Hello, Lewis.
Hello Laura, and don't worry, I'm not playing. I am on the pitch right now, and it is a friendly, but I am not in the team, don't worry about that. Good evening from the centre circle here at Hampden Park, where Scotland are in friendly action. They're back together for the first time since a disappointing defeat back in March to Greece saw them relegated from the top tier of the Nations League. Now 2 friendly matches stand between Steve Clarke and his squad starting their World Cup qualifying campaign in September. Tonight the opponents are Iceland, and I can bring you the team news that Steve Clarke has went with tonight. There is a first start from Max Johnston and George Hurst, who leads the line, and it is an Italian Serie A midfield there. It is also generally quite a young squad, with teenagers Lennon Miller and James Wilson among those on the bench, and Captain Andy Robertson is certainly aware of his role in helping the younger players in the squad settle in on the international scene.
You kind of see different generations kind of coming through every like 4 or 5 years, you know. So just now it's probably, you know, at the back end of it, it's probably me, Granty, you know, John McGinn, even, you know, I know McTominay's a bit younger, but Kieran Tierney and people like that. And then you've obviously got the slightly younger ones that are like, you know, Fergie and Billy Gilmore and Nathan Patterson, things like that. And then even younger than that, you've got James Wilson, Lennon Miller and all the young lads. So you see them coming through, you see how confident they are, they see how, you know, good they can be and how good on the ball they can be in training. You know, the young lads have been excellent in training all week, and you know, hopefully if they get minutes on the pitch in these 2 games, then they can show it on the big stage as well. And if they do that, then it only stands us in good stead for the future, because when, you know, you do decide to kind of hang them up and not play anymore, then you still want to leave the national team in particular, you know, in a good place. And I think with the young players we've got through, I think, you know, us kind of older boys, there's a hell of a chance of that happening.
Well, one of the experienced players in the squad, or not in the squad, apologies, is Lyndon Dykes. He's on the recovery at the moment from injury. I spoke to him ahead of kick-off, and here's what he had to say.
Feeling good, all cleared, ready to play, so going to have a little bit of a break and then come back next season for pre-season flying.
Absolutely. Well, Iceland tonight, first of 2 friendlies before crucial World Cup qualifiers. Just how important are these friendly games to get a little bit of winning momentum going into a campaign like that?
Yeah, I mean, momentum's a massive thing in football, especially international football, because you're not always obviously playing every weekend. And these 2 games, you know, they're going to be, you know, tough competition, but we're expected to maybe win both games. And tonight will be a good test to show, like you said, the momentum for the next camps coming up, but as well for the crowd to enjoy a game, and the new boys coming in, and a little bit new and a fresher look on the Scotland team.
Absolutely. Steve Clarke spoke in the build-up to this that he doesn't obviously change that much. We all know that Steve Clarke likes a bit of consistency. How valuable is that in a squad, an international squad, having a consistency and a message like that from the manager?
Yeah, it's definitely a strong outlook for international teams. I think you look at all the top teams, there's not a lot of change. Obviously everyone changes, everyone can't play forever, so which is good to see some young boys getting involved, and for the future they're going to get an early look on that. But you want momentum again, and you want the boys to feel like they know how to play with each other, and the chemistry and all that kind of things come into play.
And I just want to talk to you about the striking options, of course, the position that you've owned for so long in the Scotland setup. George Hurst has come in recent times. What do you hope to see as you watch on tonight from the boys up top?
Obviously he's new into the squad. Obviously plays at a decent standard, a big club as well. So it'll be good for everyone to come in. Hopefully he plays well and makes it hard for the defenders, and ideally we want to obviously score some goals. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be excited to get in for his first start, and hopefully he score a goal, and hopefully the boys can win.
Away from football for a moment and to rugby, because it is a big weekend for defending United Rugby Championship winners Glasgow Warriors. They face Leinster in the semi-finals of this year's competition. And the Warriors head coach Franco Smith and his side left Scotstoun today for their trip to Dublin, where they've lost twice in the last 2 months. One of them was a heavy defeat, 52-0 in the European Champions Cup. But Smith insists that won't deter them in their bid to win back-to-back URC titles.
No, I think that's something of the past, different competition. We've learned from it and we've moved on.
People, I think, are focusing on the toughness of it, but again, it's such a big opportunity as well.
Look, every game's tough, and I agree with them to see the opportunity here is the fact that we've planned for this for the whole year, and we have our own objectives, and we're slowly but surely getting to that. So, yeah, we will be out there trying our very best this weekend.
Remember, you can watch the football tonight across the BBC. It's right here on BBC One Scotland. Live coverage starts at 7:30. There's also live commentary on Sportsound, and you can keep across all the action on the BBC Sport website too. Kick off here 7:45. But for now, from here in the centre circle at Hampden, it's back to you in the studio, Laura.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Right, time now for a look at the weather with Judith. How is the weekend shaping up?
Some showers in the forecast, but I love to pay homage to Shetland at this time of year because it barely gets dark, does it? It's absolutely gorgeous. As for the weekend, well, more showers in the forecast, some clouds there behind me. Let's take a look at the pressure chart because there is good news on the horizon. Yes, as we head through tonight, this low pressure system to the south of us will throw up a pulse of energy, bringing some heavy showers tomorrow. A quieter day on Sunday, and indeed Monday's not looking too bad as well. This bringing some rain Tuesday, but we're not quite sure where it's going to land. However, what we are sure of is high pressure will start to build, but with this high pressure come midweek comes some warmer temperatures at last and dry weather too. Now, as far as this evening's concerned, showers easing, some clear spells, but then we see that feature coming up from the south, bringing thicker cloud and some showery rain, hanging on some clear spells further north. Could be quite chilly across the northeast, but for most of us, temperatures of around about 7 or 8 Celsius. Into tomorrow, a dry, bright start across northern parts, but that band of showery rain across central and southern parts continues to spread northwards. Most places clouding over with some showers, and those showers will be exacerbated, a bit of energy about, to all but the Western Isles, which look like staying dry. The Northern Isles actually escaping these heavier showers as well. There'll be the odd one passing by at times with mainly light winds here, but also interspersed with sunny spells as well. It's really the mainland that we're going to see these heavy showers, possibly thundery, slow moving with very little in the way of wind to move them through. I think the focus of the heavier showers across the east will be over the higher ground, but they will take their time to shift away. And still a few showers across the west, cool with all this going on, but the first signs of something drier and brighter coming into the west coast. And the Western Isles sky look like escaping that big area of showers as well. Now, as we head towards the latter part of the afternoon and evening, drier, sunnier weather pushing all that cloud and showers away, turning clearer across the east later on in the night, leading us into a largely dry start on Sunday, quite a chilly start, some sunshine first thing, showers developing, and perhaps later in the day we might see showers becoming more frequent towards western areas, but to all intents and purposes actually not a bad day at all. That's your forecast.
Judith, many thanks indeed. Amy Irons will be here with your late news at around 10:30, but until then, from everyone on the team, do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.